August 23, 1864, Washington City. Abraham Lincoln sits alone in his office as dusk settles over the Capitol. The summer air is thick, unmoving, heavy with the smell of dust and sweat. Outside, the war has entered its fourth year. Inside, the president opens a folded paper, writes a few quiet lines, seals it, and places it in a drawer. It is a note predicting his own defeat in the upcoming election. Lincoln believes the nation will abandon him before the war is finished. He does not blame them. More than 620,000 Americans are already dead. Entire towns are emptied of young men. Hospitals overflow with amputees and the dying. Mothers beg for peace. Newspapers demand negotiations. Politicians warn that the Union is bleeding itself to death. Even members of Lincoln's own cabinet urge him to find a way out. But Lincoln does not move toward peace. He moves deeper into war. To many, this looks like cruelty, stubbornness, obsession. But to Lincoln, ending the war early would mean something worse than defeat. It would mean surrendering the future. By 1864, Confederate leaders are quietly signaling willingness to talk. There are back-channel messages. European observers believe compromise is inevitable. If Lincoln would simply allow the South to return with slavery intact, the killing could stop almost immediately. Lincoln refuses. He knows exactly what the cost will be. The war is no longer just about preserving the Union. That changed on January 1, 1863, when Lincoln signed the Emancipation Proclamation. With one pen stroke, the war became a fight over human bondage itself. Ending the conflict without destroying slavery would mean that every death so far had purchased nothing permanent. The nation would reunite, but the wound would remain open, waiting to tear again. Lincoln understands something many around him do not. A negotiated peace would not be peace at all. It would be a pause. In private, he speaks of the war in moral terms, not strategic ones. Slavery, he believes, is a national sin, one that demands a terrible price. If God wills that it continue, he says, until every drop of blood drawn with the lash shall be paid by another drawn with the sword, so still it must be said, the judgments of the Lord are true and righteous altogether. This is not rhetoric, it is resolve. By the summer of 1864, Union armies are stalled, Grant's campaign bleeds men without decisive victory, Sherman is bogged down in Georgia, Lincoln's approval collapses, peace candidates gain momentum, many believe the Confederacy has survived long enough to force recognition. Still, Lincoln refuses to negotiate. Then, in September 1864, Atlanta falls. 2 months later, Sherman marches to the sea. The tide turns not because Lincoln compromised but because he endured. By November, Lincoln wins re-election. The people choose not the quickest end to war, but the hardest one. When Confederate envoys finally arrive in February 1865, Lincoln meets them aboard a steamboat at Hampton Roads. They ask again for peace. He offers only reunion and the end of slavery, nothing else. 2 months later, April 9, 1865, Lee surrenders at Appomattox. The war ends not when everyone begged for it to stop but when it could no longer return. Lincoln would not live to see what followed. 5 days later, he is assassinated, but the choice he made remains one of the most consequential in history, to prolong unimaginable suffering so that the nation would never have to fight the same war again. He did not refuse peace because he loved war. He refused it because he understood what an unfinished peace would cost. And he chose the harder ending.